Have you ever wondered what if the skeleton of our world suddenly decided to stand up and walk? When the weapons of gods turn to dust, man must find strength in the heart of stone. One moment, just one moment, is enough to turn eternal symbols into memories. The planet's protective shield is gone. The sky is now both a masterpiece and a curse. And the final question that remains is the will of humanity the only metal that cannot rust? Let's find out together. The 21st century. Humanity built an empire of steel, copper, and silicon. We were gods of matter. We believed this stability was eternal, that the laws of physics were immutable. But then the planet groaned, a frequency no machine could record, but that every atom of metal heard. The chemical bonds were broken. Oxidation, which once took decades, now happened in the blink of an eye. The steel skeletons that held up our civilization became the first traitors. The sky, a realm we had conquered, rejected us with cruel indifference. The knowledge of humanity, stored in hearts of silicon and copper wire, evaporated into the void. The age of light was over. The primal night returned. Even the strongest walls could not resist the decay from within. Nature reclaimed its due with a furious vengeance. Speed became a curse. Every mode of transport became its own coffin. But the collapse of man-made structures was not the worst catastrophe. The real disaster was within us. The iron in our blood, the very thing that gave us life, was oxidized. A soundless death, an extinction event by cellular suffocation. And as humanity suffocated, so did the Earth. The planet's dynamo engine seized. The magnetic field, the invisible shield that protected us from the cosmos, vanished. Our blue planet was now the red planet. The catastrophe was not over. It was merely transforming. The memory of steel, the soul of dead machines found a new body. The rust had gained consciousness. A few survived, those who were in non-metallic structures. Those who carried a rare mutation, a tiny difference that became a ticket to survival. The first encounter, a meeting between the past and the future, between flesh and rust. And the war for Earth officially began. In this new world, speed wasn't measured in horsepower, but in the endurance of muscle and fear. Running was not a solution, it was merely a delay. Sometimes the answer comes from an accident. An accidental discovery, a forgotten truth. The crystalline structure of natural stone could disrupt the matrix of the rust. A new weapon was found. A spark of hope ignited from the heart of stone. The journey to find the arsenal of the Stone Age. Loneliness was no more. Community is the first line of defense. Knowledge was shared. Hope was multiplied. Technology was dead, but Craftsmanship was reborn. Humanity returned to the first tools of its ancestors. They learned to turn the broken pieces of the old world into tools of protection. They were no longer victims. They were becoming warriors. The enemy had found them. The rust was not just sentient. It had strategy. It came to reclaim the last bastion of life. The battle for a new dawn. The clash between the age of iron and the age of stone. This was not a war of muscle, but of physics, of resonance and cancellation. Crystal against crystal. Their weapons didn't kill, they unmade the structure. The enemy evolves too. Brute force is still a threat. Wisdom is the ultimate weapon. Greed and aggression are always a weakness. They had learned the language of their enemy. If metal could be subdued by one frequency, it could be shattered by another. The resonance trap was sprung. A symphony of destruction. Their death, too, held a strange beauty. The hive lost its leader. Their order was broken. They had won a battle, but the war was still there. They had proven that the will of man was harder than any stone. After the long night of battle comes the dawn of a fragile victory. Every red particle is a reminder of the price of life. Failure did not discourage them. It taught them to rebuild stronger. Every crack was a lesson. To understand the enemy is the first step to total victory. In the fragments of destruction, they searched for knowledge. They had proven their theory. Obsidian, with its pure amorphous structure, was the perfect antithesis to the golem's crystalline matrix. A revolutionary discovery. Not all stones were deadly weapons. Some were tools of control. From discovery to application, their tactics became more diverse. They didn't just have spears, they now had grenades. They were creating a non-metallic arsenal, each piece designed for a purpose. Human ingenuity knows no bounds. Confidence had grown. It was time to switch from being the hunted to the hunter. The first hunt. A bold step into enemy territory. They moved through the legacy of their ancestors, a lost world, to protect a future not yet written. They had learned to read the language of the new world. Every track was a story. Patience is the virtue of the hunter. The first strike, not with strength, but with intellect. The moment had come. A moment of enemy weakness is a golden opportunity. Perfect coordination. They were no longer individuals fighting. They were a team. Every hunt was not just an extermination, but an intelligence-gathering mission. This war was also a race for science. Each successful hunt expanded their safety zone bit by bit. They were slowly reclaiming their world. But victory is never free. The enemy adapts too. Complacency is the shortest path to disaster. In this world, there was no punishment for failure, only care for those who sacrificed. Sometimes unity isn't shown through words, but through a silence shared together. They did not hide their failures. They honored them as symbols of resilience. Pain did not divide them. It healed them, reminding them what they fought to protect. From chaos, order was formed. From a group of survivors, they were becoming a society. Knowledge was no longer stored on servers, but in memory and speech, passed from one generation to the next. They didn't just push back the darkness, they were creating their own light. Safety was no longer luck. It was the fruit of relentless effort. Time passed. Life always finds a way to sprout. Knowledge was passed down. A new generation grew up in a world without metal. They tamed the darkness, bringing light and life into the heart of the earth. History became legend, technology became fairy tales. Art is how humanity remembers, how they turn terror into courage. The world outside was still dangerous, but no longer as terrifying as before. A strange equilibrium had been established, an unspoken treaty between organic and inorganic life. Humanity did not destroy the rust. They simply learned to live with it. The curse of old had now become part of the new world's beauty. They were rediscovering the laws of nature in a more primal way. Survival was secured. Now was the time for exploration. The future was no longer in shelters. It was out there. They were not going back to find the past. They were going to build a future on its foundations. Perhaps the rust day was not a punishment, but a purification. It took our metal, but it gave us back our soul. A soul harder than any steel.